Peace and blessings to the 12 tribes of Israel. Today I'm going to deal with a topic called Rahab the Harlot. Rahab the Harlot. Now, this is a very, very interesting topic, and it is quite a cute little story. And I thought it'd be interesting to do a Bible share on this topic, right? Because it shows that this sister, I should say, had faith, had good faith, right? And she put everything on the line for the Most High, right? So she really trusted in the Most High, right? So let's get into it. Let's dive straight into it, because I don't want this to be too long-winded. Let's go to James 2, and we're going to read 8 to 26. So that's a lot to read. If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. So the royal law is the law under Christ, right? Or Christ's commandments. But if you have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors, right? And neighbors there means fellow Israelites, right? Or people of your own race, right? That's what it means. If ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. Tell you what, didn't plan to go there, but let me define that in the Apocrypha. So we are defining your neighbor. So let's go to Ecclesiasticus, which is Sirach 13, and we're going to read from 15 to 16. Every beast loveth its kind, and every man loveth his neighbor. All flesh consorted according to his kind, and a man will cleave to his like. Let's read on. What fellowship hath the wolf with the lamb, so the sinner with the godly? What agreement is there between the hyena and a dog? And what peace between the rich and the poor? Okay, so we're not going to read on there, right? But the important things we want to take from that is in 15 and 16. Every beast loveth his like, and every man loveth his neighbor. So is someone of your own people, right? Your own race. All flesh consorted according to kind, right? So flesh just means your race. And a man will cleave to his like, which is his race, because that's why they call families of the earth, because you look similar, right? You have the same things in common, okay? Right, so let's now go back to James. And we're going to read from neighbor again. So we read from 8. If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbours, and ye do well. 9. If ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. For whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point is guilty of all. So you can't say that you do the whole law and you say you don't do the sacrificial law or any part of the law because it's not convenient for you to do it, right? Or do it to the best of your ability. The Bible doesn't say that. You have to do the whole law, the whole Mosaic law. Otherwise, you don't do it at all. It means that you are a transgressor, right? But whosoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. But he that said, do not commit adultery, also said, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. So speak ye, so do as they that shall be judged by the law of liberty, right? So you will be judged by the law of liberty. 13, for he shall have judgment without mercy, that heart showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. Let's carry on to 14. What doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he had faith and had not works? And faith say, can faith save him? Right? So faith without works is dead, right? 15, if a brother or sister be naked and desolate of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what do it profit? So this is an example of faith without works, right? Even so, faith, if it had not works, is dead, being alone. Ye, a man may say that hast faith, I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I shall show ye my faith by my works. So my personal analogy, or example I should say, is if you are a wife and you say you love your husband but you don't cook for him, you don't cook, you don't clean, you don't listen to him, he says something with respect and with love, and you don't listen to him, you don't take him seriously, right? It means that you don't love him, right? And vice versa. If a woman loves you and she's doing everything possible in the home to please you, right? But yet still, you don't give her the love and affection she needs, right? And you don't provide for your family as you should as a man, then it means that you don't love her. Faith without works is dead. Saying you love someone means nothing. It's meaningless. Anybody can say it, but you have to back it up with actions. Okay? Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. 19. Thou believest that there is one God. Thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. 20. And whilst thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead. Again, it keeps repeating it again and again and again and throwing it up as a question, right? Paul keeps doing it. No, James. I think this was James. Yes, this was James. 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac his son upon the altar? So now he's giving other examples, right? I normally go through the example all the time as an example of faith, right? Seest thou heart faith wrath with his works, and by works was his faith made perfect. So Abraham offered his son. Well, he didn't do it of his own. He was instructed to do it by God, and he did it. And then the angel said, oh, that shows that you have strong faith. You know, you don't have to sacrifice your son. Here's this thing. This I think it was an animal behind you. Sacrifice that instead, right? So it was an example of Abraham's faith. Okay, he had strong faith. Seest thou faith wrath with his works, and by works was faith made perfect. And the scripture was fulfilled which said, Abraham believed God, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness, and he was called a friend of God. So Abraham had a really good, tight relationship with the Most High, and he was called a friend of God, right? 24. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. You are justified not by lip service, not by what you say you're going to do, but you actually doing it. Because people have a lot of mouth and they say they're going to do this and going to do that, and when it comes down to it, they don't do anything, right? They just put it off and put it off and put it off because they don't really believe in it. They don't really want to do it, right? It's just mouth. That's all it is. It's words. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise, another example. Your wife, right? She says, you're leading your wife, you're teaching her the Bible, you're praying, you're doing what you're supposed to do as a husband. You're trying to get her on the right course, teaching her the scriptures. You're trying to go through the scriptures with her. She doesn't want to know, right? But then she goes to the Christian church, she goes to the Christian pastor, and she goes, oh, I'm still struggling with submission after 10 years of marriage, still struggling with submission. The reason why she's struggling with submission is because she doesn't see her husband as being someone that she should respect. So she says, oh, I'm going to submit, and she never does it, right? So 10 years later now, she's admitting to the counselor, oh, I've struggled with submission. I still struggle with submission. Faith without works is dead. Don't keep saying you're going to do it. Do it, right? Don't 10 years later you're saying the same thing. It means that the words have no effect on you. It means that you're not sanctified by the words of God. You're sanctified by the words of the devil, which is the Christian church. Because the Christian church doesn't teach you righteousness. It puts you in a stupor, a feel-good stupor, but it doesn't really get you learning what the Bible has to say, right? Okay, let me climb down. 24. Ye see then how that by works a man is justified, and not by faith only. Likewise also was not Rahab. So now we go into the example of the topic. Likewise also was not Rahab the harlot justified by works? So she did works. When she had received the messengers were the servants of God, and had sent them out another way. So the messengers, let's first go to messengers. So let's just get that out the way. So we're going to go to Malachi 2:7, and then we're going to go to the story of Rahab, because I thought it's a very fascinating story and a very good example of faith. So let's go to Malachi 2 and we're reading 7. For the priest's lips shall keep knowledge, and they shall seek the law of his mouth, for he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. So a messenger, now angels are also called messengers as well, right? So a messenger just means servant of God, right? Or man of God, right? That's a messenger, right? Okay, so let's now go to, tell you what, let's go to Joshua. So we're going to go directly to the story, and then we're going to go to Hebrews 11, which deals with faith. So we're going to go to Joshua 1. Joshua 1:1. Now, after the death of Moses, so we're going to read from 1 to 3. So we're going to read Joshua 1 to 3. Now, after the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord, it came to pass that the Lord spake unto Joshua, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now, therefore, arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses. Okay, right. So Moses died and Joshua took over, right? And we were right there at the cusp of getting onto our land. So now we had to see who was on our land and what was going on there, right, before we entered it, right? So that's where we are. So we spent 40 years in the wilderness. Moses died. He didn't manage to get into the land because the Most High punished Moses, right? Which is another video that I'm going to make, right? So Joshua took over, right? So let's now let's skip down to 10, 12. Then Joshua commanded the officers of the people, saying, pass through the host and command the people, saying, prepare your victuals, for within 3 days you shall pass over this Jordan to go in to possess the land. So it was going over the river Jordan to get into the land, which the Lord your God given you to possess it. And to the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to half the tribe of Manasseh spake Joshua, saying. So basically, these Israelites were meant to occupy certain parts of that land, right? So, and to the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to half the tribe of Manasseh spoke Joshua, saying. So he was speaking specifically to them, right? So let's now go to Joshua. I tell you what, let's stay in First Joshua and we'll read it a little bit down just to get the feel of the story, right? So we read it from 12, we read it down. So we read 13. Remember the word which Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, saying, the Lord your God hath given you rest and hath given you this land. Your wives, your little ones, your cattle shall remain in the land which Moses gave you on this side Jordan, but you shall pass before your brethren armed, all the mighty men of valor, and help them, until the Lord have given your brethren rest as he had given you, and they also have possessed the land which the Lord your God given them. Then you shall return unto the land of your possession and enjoy it, which Moses the Lord's servant gave you on this side Jordan towards the sun rising. Okay, so all these different tribes were supposed to occupy certain areas, and therefore over the river Jordan was supposed to be a land that we were supposed to occupy as well, right? And they answered Joshua, saying, all that thou commanded us we will do, and wheresoever thou sendest us we will go. According as we hearken unto Moses in all things, so will we hearken unto thee. Only the Lord thy God be with thee, as he was with Moses. 18. Whosoever be that doeth rebel against thy commandment, and will not hearken unto these words, in all that thou commandest him, he shall be put to death. Only be strong and of good courage. Okay, so let's go on to Joshua 2, and we're going to read all of 2. Okay, so that's quite a bit to read, so I'm going to go fast. And Joshua the son of Nun sent out of Shittim 2 men to spy secretly, saying, go view the land, even Jericho. So they were sent to Jericho to view the land, right? And they went and came into the harlot's house named Rahab and lodged there. So here we are at Rahab, the so-called Rahab the harlot, right? And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, behold, there came men in Hittah to the night of the children of Israel, to 2 night of the children of Israel to search out the country. So the king was told, the king of Jericho, you have a couple of Israelites here spying on us, on us, right? 3, and the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying, bring forth the men that are come to thee, which are entered into thine house, for they be come to search out all the country, right? So he's saying, bring those 2 men that came to your house, because they're spies. They're here to search out the country. What do they come here for? Right? So that's what he's saying. 4, and the woman took the 2 men and hid them and said thus, there came men unto me, but I wise not whence they were. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. Okay, let's read 4 again. And the woman took the 2 men and hid them. So she hid the 2 Israelite men, right? And said, there came men unto me, but I was not whence they were. I don't know where they are. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark, that the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them. Okay, let's move on to 6. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house. So she had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stalks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof, right? So she hid them on the roof, right? So let's read 6 again. But she had brought them up to the roof of the house and hid them with the stacks of flax, which she had laid in order upon the roof. And the men pursued after them the way to the Jordan unto the fords. And as soon as they which pursued after them were gone out, they shut the gate. So I suppose there is a gate, and that gate, I suppose that was the gate of the city, right? 8, and before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. 9, and she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. So she is now speaking to the men. So let's go back to 8. And before they were laid down, she came up unto them upon the roof. Right, so before they went to sleep, she came up to them on the roof. And she said unto the men, I know that the Lord hath given you the land, and that your terror is fallen upon us, and that all the inhabitants of the land faint because of you. For we have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you, and when ye came out of Egypt, and what you did unto the 2 kings of the Amorites that were on the other side of Jordan, Sihon and Og, whom you utterly destroyed. Now, where does she hear all this stuff from? Could it be angels spoke to her? Could it be the Lord spoke to her in one way or another? Right? She must have heard it from somewhere. And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. So she must have been an Israelite. Okay? Because she is confessing the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as God. Let's read that bit again in 11. And as soon as we had heard these things, so there were Israelites living in different parts of the world, different parts of that, well, around that region, right? So not all Israelites came out of Egypt. There were Israelites that was dotted all over the place, right? And as soon as we had heard these things, our hearts did melt, neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath. So she confesses that your God is my God, and he is the God in heaven and beneath. Now therefore I pray you, swear unto me by the Lord, since I have showed you kindness, that you will also show kindness unto my father's house, and give me a true token. Right, so she was an Israelite, and she accepted that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is her God. And that ye will save alive my father, my mother, and my brethren, and my sisters, and all that they have, and deliver our lives from death. So she wanted the 2 Israelite men that she was hiding. She wanted them to spare her family, right? 14. And the men answered her, our life for yours. If you utter not this our business, it shall be, when the Lord had given us the land, that we will deal kindly and truly with thee. Right, so these 2 Israelite servants, They reassured Rahab that we will protect you and your family, right? 15. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. 16. And she said unto them, Get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourself there 3 days until the pursuers be returned, and afterward may you go your way. So she's giving them advice because she knows the place, right? She knows the place. 17. And the men said unto her, We will be blameless of this thine oath which thou hast made us swear. So they're saying they're going to follow the oath, and they will be a man to their word. 18. Behold, when we come into the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which thou didst let us down by, and thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother and thy brethren and all thy father's household home unto thee. Right, so let's read 18 again. Behold, when we come into the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which thou didst let us down by, and thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother, thy brethren, and all thy father's household home unto thee. 19. And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the doors of thy house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with thee in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if any hand be upon him. So they swore to protect her and her family. 20. And if thou utter this our business, then we will be quit of thine oath which thou hast made us to swear. So don't be telling on us. 21. And she said, According unto your word, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed, and she bound the scarlet line in the window. And they went and came unto the mountain, and abode there 3 days, until the pursuers were returned. And the pursuers sought them throughout all the way, but found them not. Right? So the pursuers couldn't find them. Right? 23. So the two men returned and descended from the mountain and passed over and came to Joshua the son of Nun and told him all things that befell them. And they said unto Joshua, Truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us. So he's saying that the Most High had provided us a way. He's protected you to men, and he provided us Rahab and her family as a means of helping us get that land, right? Because they were participating in helping us get the land, to come to the land, right? So let us now go to Joshua 6, and we're going to read from 16 to, let's read from 16 to 25, right? So we're going to read from 16 to 25. And it came to pass at the 7th time, when the priest blew with the trumpets, Joshua said unto the people, Shout, for the Lord had given you the city. So that would have been Jericho. And the city which be accursed, even it and all that are therein, to the Lord. Only Rahab the harlot shall live, and she and all that are in her house, because she hid the messengers that we sent, right? Because of the oath, the promise, right? The Most High protected Rahab and her family, right? Let's continue. Okay, let's just continue down. And ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make yourself a curse when ye take of the accursed thing, and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. 19. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated unto the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So Joshua is saying, don't get involved in that idolatry that those heathens were doing, right? Those Hamites were doing. Don't do that. But you could take the silver and the gold and the vessels of brass and the iron, which are consecrated unto the Lord. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord. So we'll own those things. That's fine. But burn the idolatrous stuff, right? 20. So the people shouted when the priest blew the trumpet, and it came to pass when the people heard the sound of the trumpet, and the people shouted with a great shout, that the wall fell down flat, so that the people went up into the city, every man straight before him, and they took the city. So they took the city, and they utterly destroyed all that was in the city, both man and woman, young and old, ox and sheep and ass, with the edge of the sword. Let's carry on down to 25. But Joshua had said unto the two men that had spied out the country, go into the harlot's house, go into Rahab's house, and bring out thence the woman and all that she had, as ye swore unto her. And the young men that were spies went in and brought out Rahab and her father and her mother and her brethren and all that she had, and they brought out all her kindred and left them without the camp of Israel. And they burnt the city with fire and all that was therein, only the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron they put into the treasury of the house of the Lord. And Joshua said, saved Rahab the harlot alive, and her father's household, and all that she had, and she dwelt in Israel, even unto this day, because she hid the messengers which Joshua sent to spy out Jericho. So she was an Israelite woman, right? And she was worshipped. She basically, the Lord spoke to her, left it on her heart to do that. And that's exactly what she did, right? So the Lord used her to help the messengers of God, right? So that the Israelites can now take over the city, right? So she was used by God, right? And because her faith was strong with God, right? She trusted God, and therefore, because she trusted God, she put everything on the line, because the heathens that were in the city of Jericho, they could have killed her and her family. So she put everything on the line because she trusted in the Most High, right? She had faith, good faith. Right, so let's now go to Hebrews 11. And it also shows that if you trust in the Lord, if the Lord asks you to do something and you do it, the Lord will protect you, right? Ultimately, he will protect you, right? And he will give you the ability to do it properly, okay? Okay, or effectively. So let's read Hebrews 11. We're going to pretty much read until we get to... This is quite a lot to read. Right, I'm going to race it down because I don't have much time. So we read in Hebrews 11 and pretty much all of it. We might skip bits here and there. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. For by the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. So the faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Skip down to 4. By faith Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained witness that he was righteous. God testified of his gifts, and by it he, being dead, yet speaketh. So Abel he had faith, and Cain didn't. By faith Enoch was translated that he should not see death, and was not found, because God had translated him. For before his translation he had his testimony that he pleased God. 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him, for he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So he, Most High, rewards. Let's do that again. 6. But without faith, so if you don't have any faith, it is impossible to please him. You can't please the Most High. You have to have faith. Okay. But he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So there is a reward if you diligently seek the Most High. He will answer your prayers. He will bless you with things that you will need, right? Things that you need. He will take away sicknesses. He will open doors for you, right? That's the blessings of following the Most High. Having faith and then trusting in the Lord, that the Lord will save you or protect you. 7. By faith Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by thee which he condemned the world, and became an heir of the righteousness which is by faith. By faith. So all these are examples, so I'm just going to race them down. And by faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into the place which he should after receive an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out not knowing whither he went. 9. By faith he sojourned in the land of the promise, as in the strange country, dwelleth in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs of him of the same promise. But he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. So he was sent out to the land, which would be the land of milk and honey, Israel, right? And he had to have faith in God, so that God will protect him and take him to his destination safely. 11. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Right, so Sarah was very old and she gave birth, even though she was barren. Right. 12. Therefore sprang there even one, and him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky, and a multitude and as the sand which is by the sea. Sure, innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims in the earth. Let's read it again. 12. Therefore sprang there even one, and of him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky, a multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore, innumerable. So that will be Israel. These all died in faith. They all died, in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. So some people didn't make it into the land, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Right, now, as we know, some Israelites were given the promise, but they didn't make it into the land. But we know, because of what we understand on regeneration, you always come back, right? But you come back in a different body, right? So let's continue. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is an heavenly, wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God. For he had prepared for them a city. By faith Abraham, when he was tried, offered up Isaac, and he that had received the promises offered up his begotten son. So that's when he offered up Isaac as a sacrificial offering. 18. Of whom it was said that in Isaac shall thy seed be called. 19. According to the God was able to raise him up even from the dead, from whence also he received him a figure. By faith Isaac blessed Jacob and Esau concerning things to come. By faith Jacob, when he was a dying, blessing both the sons of Joseph, and worshipped, leaning upon the top of his staff. 22. By faith Joseph, when he died, made mention of the departing of the children of Israel, and gave commandments concerning his bones. 23. By the faith Moses, when he was born, was hid 3 months of his parents, because they saw he was a proper child, and they were not afraid of the king's commandments. Proper child just means he was an Israelite baby, right? The king was an Egyptian king. 24. By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, right? So he was taken in by Pharaoh's daughter as an Egyptian, but he was an Israelite. 25. Choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. So he stepped out of what he was to inherit as a royal person, and he said, no, I'm not, because I'm an Israelite. Right? 26. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. So he had faith in the Lord. The Lord got him away from Egypt into the Median, right? In Ethiopia, right? And he was there for quite a number of years, and then the Lord spoke to him and instructed him to get his people out of Egypt. Right, so there was a lot of faith involved when it came to Moses, right? By faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God, that means Israelites, than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a reason. Esteeming the reproach of Christ greater riches than the treasures in Egypt, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. For faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Through faith he kept the Passover, sprinkling of blood, lest he that destroyed the firstborn should touch them. By faith they passed through the Red Sea as by dry land, which the Egyptians, assaying to do, were drowned. Let's carry on to 30. By faith the walls of Jericho fell down after they were compassed about 7 days. So we've just read about that. 31. By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. So she believed in the Most High. Let's read it again. 31. By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace. And what shall I more say? For the time would fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jathi, and of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets. Okay, so we're going to leave that one there at 32, but I think you get the drift, right? That Rahab had faith, along with all the other examples that I've just read in Hebrews 11. So it's important that if the Lord has given you an instruction to do something, and he would really like you to do it, right? Because with it, he empowers you to do it, and he will protect you, right? He will protect you. He will bless you for doing it, right? And it's very important while you're doing it, you see the results, right? You see the reward at the end of it, rather than seeing what all the things that you have to go through. You see at the end of it, you see the reward, right? And that is an example of good faith. Brothers and sisters, I hope you were edified. Shalom.